NASCAR does not bend its own rules. Not for legends, not for champions, not for anybody. Until now. Behind closed doors, NASCAR's own chief operating officer just admitted the sport is prepared to fast-track Kyle Busch straight into the Hall of Fame, skipping the waiting period every other driver has had to sit through. No debate, no vote drama, just a green light. And the reason why says everything about what Kyle Busch actually meant to this sport. Here's what's on the table. NASCAR's rulebook requires retired drivers to wait 2 full years before they're even eligible for Hall of Fame consideration. That's the standard. That's how it's worked for over a decade. Ben Kennedy, NASCAR's COO, just told the Rubbin is Racing podcast that Kyle Busch is likely getting an exception. According to Kennedy, when the Hall of Fame panel sits down to debate ballots, there are certain names that never even spark discussion, because everyone in the room already knows they're getting in. He's putting Busch in that category right now before Busch has even officially walked away from the sport. On top of that, NASCAR is planning a full tribute event at Bowman Gray Stadium. Legends, rivals, former teammates, all expected to show up. There's even a hint that Busch's own son, Brexton, could be behind the wheel during a Friday event as part of the celebration. This isn't a quiet procedural update. This is NASCAR building a farewell campaign in real time. To understand why this is such a big deal, you have to understand what the 2-year rule was built for. It exists to create separation, to let emotions settle, let the full body of work be evaluated with some distance, and prevent recency bias from clouding a legacy-defining decision. It's a cooling-off period, a gut check mechanism. NASCAR has broken it before. Back in 2013, the sport rewrote its own eligibility rules so that any driver who turned 55 could go straight onto the ballot, no waiting required. That change was built specifically around guys like Mark Martin, drivers who were still active in select races but clearly deserved recognition without delay. So there is precedent here, but precedent doesn't make this any less significant. Kyle Busch isn't just a 2-time Cup Series champion. He's one of the most polarizing, most talked about, most statistically dominant drivers of his generation. Love him or hate him. And plenty of fans have done both loudly. You cannot talk about the last 2 decades of NASCAR without talking about Kyle Busch. That's exactly why NASCAR wants him in now, while the moment still has weight, while the emotion is still raw, while fans are still showing up in force to catch one more glimpse of him behind the wheel. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because this decision is not as simple as he deserves it, so let's do it. Waiving the waiting period sets a precedent. The next time a superstar driver retires, fans and media are going to ask the exact same question, why him and not them? NASCAR just handed itself a very difficult standard to walk back. There's also a controversy angle nobody's talking about enough. Michael McCarthy, the very podcast host Kennedy sat down with, pushed back in real time. He argued Busch's career deserves a longer celebration, that rushing the induction could actually shrink the moment instead of amplifying it. That's a fair point. Hall of Fame waits often build anticipation. Skip the wait and you risk turning a monumental honor into something that feels almost routine. But here's the counter argument, and it's a strong one. Busch's value to NASCAR isn't just wins and championships. It's attention, it's ratings, it's controversy that keeps casual fans talking. NASCAR knows that Busch retiring creates a vacuum, and getting ahead of that narrative with a massive send-off, a tribute race, and an accelerated Hall of Fame path is a calculated move to keep eyeballs on the sport during a transition period. Is it smart? From a business standpoint, almost certainly yes. Is it risky from a legacy integrity standpoint? Also yes. Because the second you bend a rule for one guy, you invite scrutiny for every decision that follows. This is a calculated risk, not a reckless one, but it is still a risk. Expect a split reaction and expect it fast. One side of the fan base is going to see this as completely deserved, a Hall of Fame lock finally getting treated like one. These are the fans who have already been showing up in massive numbers at Charlotte Motor Speedway and at race shops just to catch him. The other side is going to view this as NASCAR playing favorites, especially fans of drivers who had to sit through the full waiting period with no exceptions made. Media reaction will likely mirror that Rubbin is Racing conversation itself, some outlets celebrating the fast track as overdue recognition, others questioning whether NASCAR is moving too quickly on something meant to be permanent. Either way, this story's not fading quietly. It's about to dominate NASCAR conversation for weeks. Best case scenario, Kyle Busch gets inducted next year in a ceremony that becomes one of the most watched Hall of Fame moments in recent NASCAR history. The Bowman Gray tribute event sells out, Brexton gets his moment on track, and NASCAR successfully turns a retirement into a season-long storyline that boosts engagement across the board. Worst case scenario, the rule bending becomes the story instead of Busch's career. Critics hammer NASCAR for inconsistency, others snub drivers, and their fan bases voiced frustration, and the induction, instead of being remembered as a celebration, gets remembered as controversial. Which version plays out depends entirely on how NASCAR handles the rollout from here, so here's the real question. Does Kyle Busch's impact on this sport justify breaking a rule that's applied to everyone else? Or does fast-tracking a legend actually cheapen what the Hall of Fame is supposed to represent? Drop your take in the comments. Are you team fast track or team let him wait? If you want more straight shooting NASCAR breakdowns like this one, make sure you're subscribed to SportsWire USA because this Kyle Busch story is just getting started.